Hi, everybody. Todd Dammit Kearns here from Slash featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. Took Heroes and Monsters. You're watching CMS TV.
And right back here on the Classic Metal Show. No, it isn't the Classic Metal Show. On CHRIS Akin Presents.
Whoops.
Whoops, wrong show. But with us, joining us right now, Alcatrazz has a brand new release. It is out on May the 19th, and they are led by this guy, just a phenomenal guitar player in his own right. You may remember him from Reign of Terror, or now you know him from Alcatrazz. And if you just look online, he's one of the virtuosos of the last 40 years. He is Mr. Joe Stump. Joe, how are you, man?
I'm good. Good. As I said, being Joe Stump's a pretty sweet deal. So I live a charmed life. I can't complain.
That's right, man. Well, dude, I love what you do. And I was a huge fan of the Reign of Terror stuff. I just really love that stuff. But I'm glad to see that you've landed in a band type scenario. I mean, it seems, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but you've spent a good amount of your career kind of as yourself, finding entities to play around you, where this is more of a true band environment, and where you're interacting with the band. Is that A, does that feel about right with your career? And B, are you comfortable being in a band scenario versus being the leader of the pack?
Well, I'm comfortable in both. After the Reign of Terror, I was playing with Holy Hell, like symphonic power metal band. So, I was, we used to tour all the time with Manowar. So, and Rhapsody of Fire and stuff. So that was one thing I was doing that was more of a band thing. Okay. But with Alcatrazz, it's great. But still, like, I write the majority of the music, for the band and stuff. So it's really not much of a departure from anything else I've done.
Right on, man. Well, dude, let's talk about Alcatrazz. This is since you joined the band, if you've done nothing else, I think you kicked the other guys in the face and said, "Hey, gas pedal to the floor, man. We got to put out music." Third record in 3 years from you guys. I mean, you guys are really creating a lot of music. So why don't we start there with the creative output, man? It's been fast and furious from you guys.
Yeah. Well, when we made the switch over to Doogie, he was anxious to do something new, and the label was happy to have us do a new record with him. And then they were originally, I think this record they were going to release Take No Prisoners, like I think later, but the record company liked it so much they moved it up. So I guess that's not such a bad thing.
Yeah, it definitely is not. And it's I don't know, do we call this a rebirth of Alcatrazz? Because really, it in my mind, as an old school guy, it kind of is the rebirth since you, Larry, and Doogie came into the band. So you guys are creating a whole new wealth of music. You've obviously created 30 some songs since you three came together with the other two guys. So does it feel to you like a fresh band and not a band that's carried by legacy?
Well, I guess a little bit of both. Most people know Alcatrazz because, mainly because, not to take anything away from Graham, of course, but mainly because, first Yngwie and then Steve. The guitar player has always been the one who's, driven the musical direction of the band. So it does feel like a brand new thing to a certain extent.
Sure. Now, for you personally, somebody that is an elite player, how does it feel to be in that category? I mean, that's rare air to be in the category of Yngwie and Vi.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, Steve and Yngwie are both legends. So I'm not going to put myself in that category, but I'm proud to be carrying the torch as and taking the band into the into the future.
Right on, definitely. Now, Joe, the new record, it just seems like it picks up right up where 5 left off, where the last record left off. Was this a new writing session, or were these all written at one time and just weren't released all at once as one big project?
No, that these were all like brand new tunes. Brand new tunes on this record, and some of the stuff is similarities to 5, but there's also a bunch of stuff that's a bit of a departure, just like the track you play, the piece of the track you play, "Don't Get Mad, Get Even." When I wrote that, I wrote like the music to that, and Doogie, of course, writes the lyrics and the melody lines, the traditional singer guitar player kind of thing. But me, I was thinking along the lines of like a Thin Lizzy thing and that kind of thing. So it's kind of like the new record kind of walks the line between some of the stuff is metal and some of the stuff has got maybe even more of a hard rock kind of vibe. So it's a mixture.
I was gonna say, hearing that track that Chris played, that lead was sick, Joe, that you played on. That was you playing on that?
Yeah, that was me, and that was it. Yeah, on that one, I'm a huge Gary Moore fanatic, so I was kind of channeling some of the late great Gary Moore as far as that was my. Usually when I'm playing a solo, it's not like I'm reinventing the wheel. I'm kind of channeling one of my heroes, and that one was Gary Moore.
Right.
I mean, there's a new single out called Battle Lines, and that one for me, it's more of a Schenker thing,
Right.
So it's usually I got like one of my heroes in there as far as what my approach is.
That's awesome, man. Is that the guitar that you used when you recorded?
No, this is just one of my. I'm more comfortable speaking when I have a guitar in my lap, I guess. So.
Right.
So it's not plugged in or any of that nonsense. It's not like I'm going to start to rip or anything, but it just makes me a little bit more comfortable when I'm speaking.
Sure. Tell us about the guitar, man. What are you holding there?
I have a hookup with the ESP company. So this is a model they made years ago called an ST, but it's all modded. It's got a scallop neck and different pickups and all that. And this is, but I have many guitars. I got like 60-something guitars, and I'm a Strat dude, so a ton of Fenders and a ton of ESPs. So I played a mixture of guitars on the new record.
Right on. Right. Let me ask you this, Joe, and I don't know if you know, but Erik is Stephen Pearcy's guitar player. So it's kind of guitar player to guitar player. And I'm going to ask you to put your professor hat on for a second and teach Erik a little something here. What is it when you step into a project like an Alcatrazz that does have history? How much time do you invest into capturing what the previous guitar players were doing, even if it's just to play the old songs, versus taking those old songs and making them your own?
Well, myself, I knew, like, I've been listening to Yngwie since the Steeler record since '80, since that came out. So when No Parole came out, I knew a bunch of those solos. I learned them when that record came out in '83. So I knew a lot of them, or, I've known a bunch of them, many of them for years and years. And, and those are some of my favorite Yngwie solos, Krina Corey and Too Drunk and Jet to Jet, of course. So I was familiar with all the stuff. And then as far as like with the Alcatrazz, and then I usually, and then, as far as I'm not really comfortable playing the Vai stuff. We played God Bless Video live for a little bit, but it's Steve's amazing and a legend and everything. But my playing style is much more European, so it was no picnic for me doing that. But I managed.
Right.
But as far as with Alcatrazz, like since Doogie worked with Blackmore and Schenker, we do a few Rainbow things off Stranger in Us All, and we do maybe one, maybe two Schenker things. So, and I those guys are two of my heroes. So it's very easy for me to channel all that kind of stuff, but bring my own vibe and aggression to it.
Right. Is it fun to channel all of the influences, or is it more fun for you to step away from all of it and bring strictly what you have in your head and your fingers to new music?
Well, I like doing both. I love playing the Blackmore stuff, the Rainbow stuff. I love playing the old Ingve stuff, but I love playing all the new stuff, and of course stuff that I composed that we play live. So yeah. I mean, ideally, I love playing my own tunes better, but
Sure.
but it's not like I don't thoroughly enjoy the old Alcatrazz stuff with Ingve as well as the Blackmore and Schenker stuff.
Right on, definitely.
My
Now,
cat used to play in an Alcatrazz cover band. It was called Me Alcatrazz.
Goofball. Joe, let me ask you this, man. Alcatrazz has toured since the pandemic. I don't want to say over. I never want to say over anymore, but since it loosened up, I guess you guys have played abroad. And it's obviously, from everything that I read anyway, it's a very different world over there now as far as touring goes. It's way more expensive. It's way more difficult to get over there and to get gigs, and there's not as many places to play. So, as somebody that's done it, can you give us a little bit of background on how it's different now from, 2019 back?
Well, everything's quite a bit more expensive. When you think about, and we were doing it. We were in Europe for I think it was 17, 18 shows or something. And originally the tour was going to be done in a nightliner, but then all the tour bus prices shot way up, so we were just doing it doing it in the Sprinter van and with hotels. And which I certainly don't mind. I like sleeping in a bed as opposed to on the bus and bathing on the basis. I'm a big fan of that. Showering every day and everything. So that was cool. But some of the distances were like a real grind. So a lot of going to bed at 4 and waking up at 8:30 and a lot of that. But everything's quite a bit more expensive. Hotels are a bit more expensive. Getting over to Europe, getting over to the UK, more expensive airfare wise, and of course, as they say over in Europe, petrol. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, in the States, gas is like sky, expensive. So you're breaking your balls and not coming home with not nearly as much money as you used to. So that would be the But all the shows were pretty well attended, and a good amount of people came out, even during the weekday shows. So overall, it was a fairly successful mission. Just wish it would have shook out a little bit more profitable on that end.
Right. Do you think, if this continues, like it doesn't look like there's any end to this in sight, do you think if this continues that touring music is going to become a little bit more of a regional thing again? Because there's a lot of big name bands that are just not going to Europe right now, not going to England, because of bands like Godsmack saying, no, we're not going to go, we can't afford to go. Do you think it's going to end up almost regionalizing music again just because of the enormous expense to get over there?
You might have some of that, and some of the bands where they're used to making like X amount of, bringing in X amount of cash on a tour and X amount of profit, where it's just not worth it. Larger bands where it's not worth it, like Godsmack, of course, those guys are massive. It's not worth their time.
Right.
But there's, I love it. So I'm always ready to go at any time. So, but of course, I would imagine some of that's going to happen where some American bands aren't going to bite the bullet and take on the extra expense.
Sure, and it's probably going to make new bands almost impossible to break anywhere but their home country, because it's just so pricey to go outside of their home country.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you there. I mean, if already established acts are, are having a bit of a struggle on the financial end to make touring worthwhile, I can't imagine for somebody that's a new artist. You know what I mean? It's going to be quite a bit more difficult.
Right on, man.
You could use miles and stuff. You could rack up enough miles playing in the States.
Yeah,
miles to get over to Europe.
Because I fly Delta all the time. So I think on one of the tours, I bought my ticket with with miles. So I can't complain.
That's right. Joe, am I lying? Delta's the best airline going for domestic stuff.
I fly Delta, all the time, domestic, internationally. It's a good deal. I think last time I flew over to the UK in February for a tour, I brought 3 guitars on the plane.
Nice. I was the only thing I was bummed out is the games they have on the back of the seat. They got rid of the word scramble game, my favorite word scramble game, and they left tic-tac-toe, which is stupid. But I love it.
I only watch movies, so I wouldn't know. So on most flights, I'm just drinking and watching movies.
There you go. Right. That's the way to do it. Well, Joe, let's move back to the record here for a little bit. Obviously, Jimmy Waldo is in the band as well as produces the band. I always am amazed when bands can do that, and I'll tell you why. It always seems weird to me to have a band member producing the music, because you guys are all a little too close to it, and having the producer also be in the band doesn't leave that objective outside ear to hear, now that doesn't work, or that's not going to work. So how does that work for you guys? And does Jimmy, keep enough distance to actually be self-critical as well as critical of the parts that you guys are playing when you're putting the record together?
Well, I've never had any kind of clashes with Jimmy as far as anything goes. Usually when I have a track, when I write a tune, I write like the whole tune's complete, meaning it's not like I just have a bunch of riffs. I have like the whole song structure's complete. This is the riff, this is the verse, this is, and all that. And I have like the solo section mapped out and what the music is and all that. So,
you just deliver it. You're like, you're welcome.
I pretty much have the whole thing. And so I mean, I could see what you mean. Would it be great to have Andy Sneap do one of our records? Yeah, but I don't think we're quite in that tax bracket.
Right.
So you have to remember, like some of that stuff kind of comes out of necessity to a certain extent as well. Considering even though we're on like an awesome record company, Silver Linings legit. They have tons. They have Saxon. They got Europe. They have they have a whole bunch of like huge bands, legendary bands and whatnot. But it's not like we have a massive budget. But it really doesn't. There really is not much of a clash. I think a lot of times, and Giles Lavery works with Jimmy a lot, as it's really got to do with. I think those guys have a stronger hand in like what Doogie ends up doing. Well, a lot of times more with the other guys in the band as opposed to me. Because I have all my stuff like laid out already, and most of the music is written by me.
Right on. Well, dude, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this one song on the record, Little Rider. What a set of guitars on this. And I know that's all you. Talk a little bit about the Little Rider song, man, because amazing.
You mean Little Viper?
Yeah.
Little Viper. I remember I wrote that tune. I write a lot of stuff when I'm from New York, as you can hear by my accent. And I'm a massive New York Yankee fan, so I watch like every game. But a lot of times I'll write a lot of riffs and a lot of stuff when I'm watching TV. So I wrote that entire track, when I was sitting there in front of the television, and it's almost got this. Like if I had to describe it, it's like this it's like a fast Europe, almost like a fast European thing, but it's got a little bit of like a Megadeth kind of heaviness to it, but then much darker and much more European sounding. If I had to describe what the way the track is.
Right on. It's a cool song, man. It's very cool. Well, Joe, I'm gonna go back for a little bit. This is really nothing to do with Alcatrazz. Just, I as I was getting ready for the interview, I was doing my normal, Googling, and I'd always known that you were a professor and that you taught at Berkeley, and I know those things, and that's, that says as much to your skill as it does to your willingness to teach the skill, which, is far too few of you guys do that today. In my opinion, it seems like the only guys that do it are only doing it to make money, teaching it on Skype or whatever, instead of actually truly having a passion to bring forth the next wave of players. Now, that being said, though, as a guitar player, I don't imagine when you were in your teens and 20s, anybody could have sat you down and said, well, this is how you do it. Boom, 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 boom. So for you, is it weird to take the next generation of guys and find yourself grading them on technique and on style and on, on the flair that they have, almost molding their creativeness to what you see?
Well, I have I'm the metal specialist over there and the shred specialist, and
Sure.
now you have so all different kinds of metal players study with me, and now younger players, many of them have like a specific direction. Whether it's somebody that's into the more modern djenty stuff, somebody that's more into technical death metal, someone that's more of a classic metal player, somebody that likes old school thrash like the Big Four. Somebody that's more into like guitar virtuoso stuff. So it runs the full spectrum. So I just try to, granted, at the college, there's a curriculum where like at the end of the end of the term, you take a final exam on your instrument and you have to perform all these things, scales, arpeggios, chord voicings, reading, performance, etc. So I have to make sure everyone's cool with all that stuff, but it's just about me trying to see, and granted, I have my own area of expertise, and do what I do. I don't expect all my students to be to have the same exact direction as me. Obviously,
Sure.
Obviously, the older I get and the younger they get, that some of them might not even know some of my heroes are.
Sure.
They might Richie Blackmore as the old dude that wrote "Smoke on the Water," as opposed to the guy that really shaped the way hard rock guitar, is played. The first guy to bring, dark scales like harmonic and Hungarian minor and the Byzantine scale to hard rock and metal.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's just about me trying to help them find their own direction. But I've had many students that have went on to do well. Dave Davidson from Revocation was one of my guys.
Okay.
Rob Caggiano that played with Anthrax, that plays with
Right.
Volbeat. Rob, he was Gus G used to, not at Berkeley, but he used to come over my place, and I was kind of like his mentor, from Firewind.
Sure.
So I've been fortunate to work with a ton of great young players and stuff. So it's always cool to try to help.
Sure. Do you ever find students trying to sound like Joe Stump instead of trying to sound like themselves because they think it'll make their grades better?
Well, everybody, everybody has, everybody has, players that they idolize, and then that kind of start. That's where you get started. Then you kind of find your own voice and your own niche and everything. So yeah, I got guys that they're asking me where I buy my jewelry, where I buy my boots. I had a couple of I have a couple old the Corvette. So like one of my old students, he graduated, whatever. He sent me a picture. He just bought like a '74 Corvette or whatever. You know what I mean? So I'm passing it all on, allegedly.
Nice. Very nice, man. Well, Joe, obviously you have the new album coming out. I'd imagine that you guys are going to promote it somehow. So are there touring plans? Do you have plans for the rest of the year to get out there and play some shows, or what are you planning?
I think in August, I think we got a few festival things over in Europe, but not a ton. And then in September, we're going to South America. So we're doing and it's a decent amount of dates for a South American tour. I want to say like maybe 9 or 10. Okay. And then they're talking about North America, talking about doing some stuff in the States towards the end of the year, and doing a bunch more stuff in the States early next year as well. So there is some touring action in the pipes.
Very good, man. Well, Joe, obviously, man, you have the new record, Take No Prisoners, out May 19th here in the States, and people should definitely buy it. Do not just stream it. It's okay to stream it, but it's only okay to stream it as long as you buy any physical product that is out there. Take care of the band. And Joe, where should we tell people to go to keep up with you and with Alcatrazz and tour dates and all that stuff?
Everything will be on the Alcatrazz. The best source is like the Alcatrazz Facebook page and my Facebook page. And, there's an Alcatrazz.com site as well. But the Facebook page, they're always like loading up with tons of current content and stuff. So just about everything's on that.
Okay, excellent. Well, one more time, the new album is called Take No Prisoners, May the 19th. It is Alcatrazz. And Joe, I figured what we would do is we would wrap this up with the video that you guys just put out recently for Battle Lines. Since you mentioned it at the beginning, we'll play a little piece of that. And so to wrap it up, what can you tell us about this song?
Battle Lines. This is one I did not write. I added, I contributed some music to it, but I believe this one, Giles Lavery, who was, he's a singer in his own right, Alcatrazz's manager. Giles and Jimmy wrote this track, and it kind of like a classic metal track, because that was what we wanted to do. It was the kind of thing where, of course, like people that like Schenker and like Rainbow and like Yngwie stuff will like Alcatrazz, but we wanted the band to cross over to to a broader metal audience where people that like Accept or like Saxon or like Priest would also like Alcatrazz. So this one's got more of that classic metal vibe, and it's a cool track. And Doogie really brought it on this one, and just a strong, badass, heavy tune all the way around.
All right. Well, let's check it out right now. This is Alcatrazz, and this is Battle Lines right here on CHRIS Akin Presents. Thanks, Joe.
Sure.